Today on Dylan Talks Tone, we're going to talk about why guitar players hate change so much. How's it going? My name is Dylan, and this is Dylan Talks Tone. On this channel, we talk all about guitar tone, guitar tech, guitar builds, electronics, all that kind of stuff. And I've been working on a 2015 Gibson in the shop for the last few days, doing some little upgrades to it and stuff. And if you'll recall, that 2015 Gibson was a pretty controversial year because Gibson made a bunch of changes to it, and everybody hated that guitar. Everybody hated all those guitars, even if they never played them or experienced them for themselves. So it got me thinking, why do guitar players hate change so much? I really think they don't hate change. I think they just tell themselves that they do for some sort of, I don't know what, I don't know why. This whole conversation is very interesting, and I would like you to leave your comments below about how you feel about this, because I know you're going to disagree with me. Some people may agree with me. It's okay. It doesn't matter whether you agree or not. It's a conversation that needs to be had, and you'll understand why in a few minutes. I would say the number one thing that I hear all the time is, well, they don't make guitars like they used to. They don't make anything like they used to. Everything used to be made so much better than it is now because blah, 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 mass production, all that sort of thing. Here's the thing, though. In the guitar industry and many other industries, technology has made it to where you have a much more consistent product. Every guitar that comes off of a CNC machine is exactly right. I've got a friend who bought in the same week a 1952 and a 1961 Telecaster, and I got to play them back to back. And one of the things I really noticed about the 52, even though it was worth more money as a collector's item, it was a worse guitar. It wasn't cut out straight. The routes were very rough. And then 10 years later, even in that progress of time, in the 10 years or so, the 61 was even better. I mean, it was actually pretty good. But that being said, that 61 was at the end of a 2-year search for a pre-CBS Telecaster to try to find a good one that played well, that was consistently made the way it was supposed to, and that it actually worked. I know they're really old, but the bottom line is vintage stuff isn't necessarily good. They weren't necessarily better back then. You can get a more consistent product for a less expensive price now because of automation, because of technology. It just doesn't make sense to say that just because it was old, it was better. Let me know what you think about that and your experience, actual experience, in the comments below. I'm very curious to hear. So you might say, okay, oh well, you know, I'm an old soul, you know, I just like it the way it was in the old days, and it just takes me back to those times, and I would rather have stuff from the old days. I would rather have technology from the old days. I don't care about new stuff. Is that really true? Or are you just saying it? Because I don't think it's really true. Let's go back to the golden age of guitars. 1959. It gave us the most expensive now collector guitar that pretty much that we can think of, and it really set the standard for what collector guitars and what really nice, quote-unquote nice guitars were. The 59 Les Paul. And Tellys were really good about that time as well, as far as what people think of when they're old. 1959. Polio was still a thing. People were still dying from it. 1961 is actually when they made the polio vaccine commercially available for people, so they weren't dying of that anymore. So that's not cool. In 1959, lead was in your pipes. It was in your paint. It was everywhere. It was in your fuel. As a result of the fuel, you had tons and tons of smog. You know, in the late 50s, in London, they were working with these various, trying to figure out kind of inventions to make it to where you could walk around in public without dying of exposure to pollution, because smog was so terrible in a place like London or a place like Los Angeles. They had like glass globes that they were trying to wear on their heads with like little air pumps and filters and stuff. I mean, all kinds of crazy ideas, basically just to stay alive, because that's the way it was in the late 50s. Today, quality of life is better. Technology and progress has made quality of life better. Not to mention life expectancy. Another thing that people will say, like, okay, so I use a Kemper, right? And a lot of people will say, well, I would never use one of those live because what if it breaks? What if it doesn't boot up? What if it crashes? What if your guitar amp blows a bias resistor? What if a filter cap explodes? What if a tube goes out? Anything but a tube, you can't fix at a gig. Same exact thing, same exact problem. And solid state stuff and surface mount stuff and a lot of the later technology that we're dealing with right now, modern technology right now, actually lasts a lot longer and is way more reliable than anything built the traditional old way. Why is that? It's actual science. I'm not making this up. Less heat, because less voltage, less current, the things work better. They work better for longer and they're more consistent. Period. Now, the sound and all that sort of stuff, the actual application of the technology, you can argue that in the internet and in the comments all day long. But when we're talking about somebody who says, yeah, but I wouldn't want to deal with that newfangled business because it's going to break. It's more reliable. Period. That's why it was made. Most of the time, when people are saying, well, I don't want to deal with this newfangled stuff, it's because typically they're of an age group, and I'm just going to say this and be super frank about it, that it's typically of an age group that remembers a time before the thing was invented, okay? So let's take, for instance, we'll use vehicles for an example because I love vehicles. So let's take, for example, power windows and fuel injection, okay? So if you talk to somebody in this age group that I'm talking about, we're not going to mention numbers right here, but it's a big segment of the guitar industry, they're going to say, well, yeah, but I wouldn't want that stuff on my vehicle because it's going to break. It's just more stuff to go wrong. I hear it all the time. So I got this 2018 Tundra sitting behind me. It's got power windows, it's got fuel injection, it's got heated seats, it's got navigation, it's got all the stuff, all the sunroof, all the everything, it's got everything. And somebody will say, oh, that's a truck. That's more stuff to go wrong with a truck. Because chances are they have an experience or a group of experiences from a time before the technology was ironed out. So let's go back to the mid-70s when you put power windows in a Cadillac, okay? Power windows in a Cadillac, for instance. A humongous motor, lots of current, lots of heat, low tolerances on bad tolerances on everything, and people didn't use them, they dried out and they broke. True, absolutely true. Stuff broke when it first came out. It's 2018. Do you think they got power windows down by now? Yeah, they do. Let's talk about fuel injection. I don't want that newfangled stuff, just give me a carburetor. Not to mention the pollution and the emissions and all that sort of stuff and the ease of use because you don't have to rejet everything every 3,000 feet. Let's just talk about the actual function of it, okay? So let's go to the early 80s. 82, 83, 84, you got a Volkswagen diesel, you got an Audi 4000, they got Cage-Etronic, partially mechanical fuel injection. It was horrendous. I had them, they were terrible, they broke all the time, they were very unreliable. Do I have any of that problem with the 2018 Tundra right now? No. In fact, I have 400 horsepower and 19 miles to the gallon. And a full-size truck in 1959, there's no way you could get that close. Technology marches on into the future for a reason. And just because you had a bad experience or you were around before the technology happened and you saw it kind of come up and transition and have some problems and had to wrinkle some things out, doesn't mean that a few years on into this technology being applied that it's still bad, because it's not. It's awesome. Technology is awesome. Thinking about music, everybody knows pods back in the day. They're okay. Any of the old Digitech pedals that are on the floor, it was digital stuff. It wasn't very good. The Kemper's really good. And people will argue about it in the comments, that's okay, but it's really good. Technology marching on is a good thing. Just because you had a bad experience with it doesn't make it bad. And probably the last thing, and this might be the most important thing, when people talk about the guitar industry doesn't need any change, okay? So they'll hold up a Les Paul or a Tele, And they'll say, well, Leo Fender made the telly and it's been good ever since 1949 or whatever, and it doesn't need to change and everything is fine. We don't need circuit boards, we don't need whatever, we don't need any of that. Is that really true? Can the music industry survive with no change? This crosses over into a whole nother conversation about where the music industry is going. These are the same people that will get on the internet and talk about the guitar industry dying. They'll talk about the fact that young people don't play guitar anymore. They'll talk about the fact that their gigs are getting taken over by laptops. They're talking about electronic music is completely overtaking everything. Have you ever thought about it from the other side of the coin? Have you ever thought about it that a 14-year-old kid who grew up in the 21st century, only the 21st century, and all he knows is digital technology, iPads and iPhones, isn't going to say to himself, you know what, I'd like my amp to be on my iPad. I'd like my amp to be on my iPhone. And then you go to him and say, that's stupid. What are you doing? You're discouraging him from playing guitar. You're discouraging him from using technology that he is familiar with. You are imposing your age on someone else who is a lot younger and who is the next generation of music. So does the music industry need change? Absolutely. It needs to allow things to evolve. All of us old people who've been playing tube amps since we were kids need to let whatever happen happen. You know, if you want to have a tube amp, that's cool. If you want to have an old guitar, that's cool. But don't go tell somebody else that what they're doing is wrong because it's different from what you're doing. And if you have not been able to embrace change, go pick up a guitar that you've never played before. Go experiment with a technology that you've never played before. Because like I said at the beginning of this video, you like technology just fine. You like your microwave, you like your YouTube, you like your touchscreen phone, you like your flat screen TV, all those things. You like your air conditioning in your car, you like your ABS brakes, you like your navigation. The guitar industry is the only place where people get angry almost. Oh, no, not almost, for real. Because something new is coming and they don't know what to do with it. It's not a nice thing to do to somebody, to impose your age on them. You can have the old stuff just fine. But I would recommend to you, if you want to be part of the next generation of musicians, to start embracing some change. Do me a favor, hit the subscribe button, put the comments below, let me know what you think. I know this was a little different, but it's pretty awesome. It's fun. My name is Dylan. This is Dylan Talks Tone. If you have any questions about this or anything else that we do on this channel, do me a favor, put it in the comments below, and maybe we'll make a video just for you.